Hello there. Welcome once again to Living on Purpose. My name is Fola Daniel Speaks, also known as Fola Daniel Speaks. Today, I want to tell you, don't let defeats get into your mind. Don't let defeat get into your mind. If you have been following me, you realize that a couple of times I've made references to the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. Now I have to make another reference to them in this situation. And the reason I'm making a reference to them in this situation is that they were a typical example of allowing defeat to get into their minds. They were slaves for over 400 years, and when they got out, they couldn't stop thinking about being slaves. In fact, it got so bad that they thought that it was better to be slaves in Egypt than to be freeborns or free people in the wilderness. When they were leaving Egypt, God had decided to use 10 different plagues, or you can even call it miracles, to make sure that they were delivered. They got out of Egypt, and the biggest miracle happened as they were leaving Egypt. Immediately they left Egypt, God parted the Red Sea. It had never happened before, and since that time, nothing like it has ever happened. God made sure that the Red Sea split, and over 3 million people walked through it on dry land. And when they got to the other side, Egyptians came after them. And what did God do? God made sure that the chariots, the army of Pharaoh, drowned in the Red Sea. Now, if anybody did that for me and the person asked me to trust him, I would assume that it's common sense. It's easy to trust that kind of a person. So God says, trust me and follow me. I'm going to lead you through the wilderness and you get to Canaan. But in this case, when they got into any small trouble, like when they didn't have water, they would start throwing tantrums. And repeatedly, they said to their leader, did you bring us into this wilderness to come and die? Why didn't you leave us in Egypt? The reason they kept saying to Moses, their leader, why didn't you leave us in Egypt, is because Egypt had been in their mind. Even though they left Egypt physically, Egypt was still in their minds. So they couldn't think about being victorious. They couldn't see all the miracles that God was doing for them. So they kept thinking about Egypt, and they stopped thinking about the wonders that they had encountered or that they were encountering. For a number of years that they went through the wilderness, they didn't have to change their clothes. They didn't have to change their shoes. Did you ever think about that miracle? Meaning that as they grew, their clothes expanded. As they grew and their shoe sizes increased, their shoes expanded. They didn't have to buy a new one. Yet that was not enough miracle to tell them that they should not allow defeat get into their minds. There was too much Egypt in their minds, so they could not see Canaan. They kept seeing Egypt. Some of you have been knocked down in life. Some of you have been thrown against the wall. Some of you have had a really tough blow. I mean, life has dealt you a terrible blow. But it's important to know that if you don't allow that defeat get into your mind, you can definitely become a better person. You can turn around and do something with exactly what life has thrown at you. If defeat gets into your mind, that is when all hope is lost. But if defeat does not get into your mind, then trust me, all hope is not lost at whatever time and regardless of what has happened to you in the past. What held back the children of Israel most times was because there was still defeat, there was still Egypt in their minds. If they had been able to take Egypt out of their minds and focused on Canaan land rather, they would definitely have been able to get into Canaan effortlessly. Remember what it said concerning Jesus. If you read your Bible, it says that who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross. The reason he endured the cross is because of the joy that was set before him. In other words, what he was dealing with, what he was going through, was not necessarily an easy one. So don't let defeat get into your mind. You've been abused in the past. I understand that. You failed before. I understand that. You tried to build a house. It didn't work. I understand that. You tried to buy your first property. You didn't get that. That's okay. You can go again. Don't give up until you build that business successfully. You went to the first investor and they turned you down. Keep going, go to the next one. Sometimes I tell people no means next opportunity. Somebody says no to you, then say next opportunity. Another person says no to you, keep going. There are times when people say no to you, it has nothing to do with your idea. And the reason they are saying no to you is not because you have a bad idea. It just means that they can't see what you're talking about. Sometimes the reason they say no to you is because they don't have the funds, but you think they have the funds. So if somebody is saying no to you, it simply means that they are not the right person to invest in your idea. Go to the next person. If they knock you down, get up again, start it all over. If they say to you, this idea, we're going to pull it down, and they work against you, drag your business down, build it again. Make sure that you never allow defeat to get into your mind. The only person that has become defeated is the person that has allowed defeat in their minds. So long as defeat does not take up permanent space in your mind, then you are not yet defeated. Remember, in a fight, the referee does not call off the fight until the fighter refuses to get up. Each time you are knocked down and you get up, the fight continues. But when you are knocked down and you stay down, that's the end of the fight. So the same thing is what I want you to do. Your ideas can be knocked down. Your businesses can be knocked down. Your career can be knocked down. Don't stay down. Don't let defeat enter your mind. Keep fighting, and I'm sure that you're going to win. Head on now to www.youtube.com/Fola Daniel Speaks. Thank you.